All right, let's talk about a number you've probably heard a lot about, maybe even from your own doctor, the body mass index, or BMI. It's everywhere, but it definitely doesn't tell the whole story.
I mean, think about it for a second. Is one single number really enough to capture something as complex as your overall health? That's the big question we're going to dig into today.
So what even is BMI? Well, at its core, it's a really simple formula. It just takes your height and weight, does some quick math, and spits out a number that's supposed to estimate your body fat and your risk for certain diseases. For decades, it's been the go-to for a quick health check.
So, first things first, let's quickly break down how this scale actually works and what those categories really mean. Yeah, this chart probably looks pretty familiar, right? You've likely seen it in a doctor's office. It takes that BMI result and sorts you into one of four buckets: underweight, moderate weight, overweight, or obesity. It's super straightforward, and honestly, that simplicity is a big part of why it's so widely used.
And these categories aren't random. They're tied to potential health risks. A higher BMI is often associated with things like heart disease or type 2 diabetes. On the flip side, a really low BMI can bring its own risks, like malnutrition. The whole idea is to use this number as a kind of early warning sign.
But, and this is a really big but, the formula is far from perfect. So let's get into the good stuff, where this simple little calculation starts to fall apart.
And here we go. This is the heart of the whole issue. The one thing BMI is supposed to be good at estimating, body fat percentage, it turns out it's actually not that great at it. So what's going on here?
Well, the problem isn't just about what the number measures. It's really about everything it can't see.
This is probably the single biggest flaw. The scale only knows your total weight. It has absolutely no idea what that weight is made of. A pound of dense muscle weighs the exact same as a pound of fluffy fat, but when it comes to your health, they are two completely different things.
Now this just captures the problem perfectly. You could have an Olympic athlete, someone packed with muscle, who gets flagged as overweight because their BMI is high. At the same time, you could have a sedentary person with much higher body fat, and they could have the exact same BMI. The number's the same, but their health profiles, they're in completely different universes.
Okay, so beyond that whole muscle versus fat issue, there's another major problem. BMI was developed using let's just say, a very specific slice of the human population.
And this is a really crucial piece of the puzzle. The normal ranges we all use today, they were created based almost entirely on data from white people. What's more, the index was invented by a mathematician way back in the 1800s to study populations, not to diagnose individuals. So we're essentially using a standard that doesn't reflect the diversity of the entire world. The reality is just our bodies aren't all the same. Body composition, where we tend to store fat, that can all vary a ton based on sex, race, and ethnicity. And this means that health risks at the very same BMI can be completely different from one person to the next.
And this right here shows you what I'm talking about. Even the World Health Organization knows this. While the international standard for a normal BMI goes all the way up to almost 25, the recommended range for many Asian populations is actually lower, topping out just under 23.
So why the different number? Well, it's because research has shown that in these populations, the risk for things like type 2 diabetes and heart disease can start to creep up at lower BMI levels. It's just more proof that a single universal scale doesn't really work.
So if the scale can't tell muscle from fat and it doesn't work the same for everyone, where does that leave us? Let's figure out how we should really be thinking about BMI.
The best way to think about it is like this. BMI is a starting point, and only a starting point. It can be a quick, easy way to kick off a conversation about health, but it should never, ever be the end of that conversation.
Let's just say it plainly, BMI is a simple tool. But your health? Well, your health is anything but simple. It's this incredibly complex, amazing system, and it deserves way more than a two-variable equation. So here's the real takeaway. A true picture of health is so much broader. It includes more specific measurements like body fat percentage or a waist-to-hip ratio. It has to take your overall lifestyle into account. And most importantly, it involves having a real conversation with a doctor who can see the whole picture, not just a number on a chart. So we'll leave you with this question to think about. If one little number can't define your health, what's the conversation you should be having instead?